Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, what's up, man?
Not a heck of a lot, but who are you? It's like I haven't seen you in over, we haven't been in person for like 2 weeks.
Listen, no, we did the we did the show on.
We did the show, Monday
online. That is correct. I was going to say we only were like 1 day different with everything, but no, I am back from Las Vegas. From a semi-successful, I guess you could say. I didn't die. Okay.
You bought video games though.
I bought some video games.
So I guess that was
I went game hunting. There are some fantastic retro video game stores in Vegas. That is what I spent the majority of my money on. And there were some games down there that I did not touch. I went to 4 different retro game stores. Each one of them have one of the 28 N64 games that I have left in my collection to get. But each one of them were over $100. And I went, okay, that is if I win in gambling, I'll go back and get these. They're still in the store, which will show you how I did in gambling.
Well, you texted me, you said you were in one game just before you were getting ready to bowl and you were hoping you'd get done.
Yeah, and got done in time. I finished 6th in that poker tournament. It was the one win I had the entire time. Slot machines, I've retired from slot machines. I don't care where I go. We'll talk about it here in a little bit as far as how bowling went in general for me, but I had 30 minutes to waste at the Orioles where I was doing that training session with the coach. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to just throw $20 into this machine, play minimum, and just waste time. When the money ran out, I still had 23 minutes to waste. And that's every slot machine for me. I don't care what I put into the machine. It doesn't even pretend to let me win or even pretend that it just knows I hate them and I don't find them enjoyable at all. It's like, fine, I'll just take your money. So I think I went a little bit overall as far as poker went. Sports betting did not go my way. I just goofed around with parlays. It was one of those, if I hit one, my trip, not my whole trip, but all my gambling was going to be paid for. I got really close on one. On Saturday, I literally I did a few different parlays, but one of them was I took the top bet on several different websites. It's like, here's our suggestion for top bet. So I took 5 of them and then made that a parlay. If I would have just changed one of the hockey games for that team to win and not win by a goal and a half, I would have won $300.
Oh, there you go. Instead,
I said they were going to win by a goal and a half, and they won by 1. So I won 0. But that's
don't cover the bet.
I had fun.
Listen, Denise is already. I was looking earlier. I've got 17 days till I fly out.
Yes.
So I've got a few.
And enjoy flying instead of driving.
Yeah.
Good grief.
It'll be nice. We get in, I think, around 2:00 or so. Mm-hmm. And so we'll get to the hotel. We're staying at the Luxor.
Okay.
So we'll have a little bit, but Denise has already found one of the days that we're there. I don't think she's going to go to the bowling with me. She's going to go to where we would normally do the 40 framer.
Okay.
But the 40 framer is not happening this year, which I'm bummed about because I really like bowling the 40 framer. Makes you really think and do different things, some crazy shot, make a little bit of money. But at that casino, they have all day bingo. 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And she's already said, yeah, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be playing bingo while I'm down there. So
that's insane.
Oh, we'll see it, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, I know.
Before we bounce off and do the rest of our show, again, we will talk more about bowling at the bottom of this first hour and kind of my experience down there and give you advice on your trip. I have to say, like, especially going to the Orleans, I want to do our NFL league there.
Really?
Just because, all right, it is 70 straight lanes that are. By the way, I don't understand. So there were 2 different. Yes, Theo. Robert Taylor, who is messaging on our R&R Sports Report Facebook page, which you can check out as well, does the old Pete Weber line, which was great. Which anybody that watched WrestleMania and watched Johnny Knoxville take on Sami Zayn, that's a weird sentence in general. When Johnny Knoxville used the bowling ball on Sami Zayn, standing ovation to Pat McAfee who used that line.
Yep.
It made me roll.
I laughed when I saw that. I thought that was good. That's priceless.
Oh, I'm sure any bowler has said the Pete Weber line at least once.
Listen, Robert, we can even say the whole thing about if you haven't struck and done the DX thrust, then you haven't bowled.
That's true. 100%.
If you haven't done
but no, the one thing I noticed out of the two places I went where I went to their bowling alleys, so the Orleans and of course South Point. Why is in South Point the bowling alley in the complete back of the whole complex?
But you got to pass the arena too. Did they have the arena set up?
I thought we were in the arena.
No. So as you were walking to go up the escalators and you turn to your left to go up the escalators, in that room right next to it is the entrance to the horse arena. So you didn't make it into the horse arena.
No.
Oh yeah, it's got a whole
and as Robert says, it's upstairs and it's through all this different stuff. Same thing at the Orleans. You have to go up this escalator to get to the bowling alley. It's like I'm carrying all this equipment and I don't want it to get stuck. I was so scared every time I got on one of those escalators with a bowling bag of like a strap getting stuck. It was rough, but we will get there. Boston Marathon happened.
Loved it.
Did you watch any of it?
I popped it up a couple of times on the computer just because Cage was racing. So Cage Sabota, one of our local buds that I had the opportunity to watch him. I mean, you did too. Watch him play basketball for Clarkson and all that. He ran his first Boston Marathon. That was awesome. So
very, very cool.
He
not something you and I love.
No. You know, what was cool is watching his dad and Pat and I were working, and he had already started racing by the time we had got to work yesterday. And so we were able to track where he was at all the time and what he was averaging per mile. And it was just crazy. And he started out right about 7-minute mile, dropped it down to like 6:20. And then, so he averaged just over 6.5 minute mile. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Ridiculous.
That's really good.
So we've always talked about our stretch goals, right?
Right.
We got destroyed by Kai Fong in tennis for our 500 followers. We've talked about 600 followers, which are like 24 away now, of putting up a poll and one of us doing a training session with this MMA group, which we were supposed to have the head guy on today. Schedule's changed. It's totally okay. We will have him on. We're still going to promote the event this Saturday, of course, here in just a second. But so that is it for 600. How many followers would we have to get for us to say, screw it, we're going to do the Boston Marathon?
Oh, there's no way. Listening to Pat talk about how the course is set up, like the first 5 to 7 miles is all downhill pretty much. So, a lot of these guys pick up a lot of speed, and we were talking about it. You get down to the final, like 9 miles. That's when it's back uphill a little bit and then into the flat stretch. There's no way.
But we're walking by that point.
Listen, I will go out and do that. I better not.
Calm down.
Watch what I say. I would probably rather do the Seaport run, which is like 5 to 10 miles.
I'll just say this. If we hit a million followers, I'll do the Boston Marathon. Just a silly number we will never get.
Yeah,
there you go. It's out there. But we did mention it for a second. Clearwater Combat is this Saturday. Doors open at 6. Fights start at 7 over at the Clearwater River Casino. A lot of local boys in this one.
Yeah, a lot of local boys. Jared Fisher, friend of the show. We've had him on a couple of times. Looking forward to watching him. He is the main event of this one. He'll be taking on Hunter Orgill there. That'll be the last fight of the night. Another co-main event. A couple ladies going at it. Gloria Gratian and Lauren Wolf. And then we get into our amateur fights. Friend of the show, Brian McElroy, taking on Santos Perez.
For a belt?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure. I think it is for a title belt.
Nice.
So a name that keeps popping up, and I know it has popped up in a few conversations. I've been really trying to promote it and talk to people about it. My wife even messaged me and asked me, she's like, DJ Turner. And that name has popped up a few times. He is fighting out there. I don't know if it's his very first fight or what, but a lot of people are asking about that. DJ Turner's taking on Dylan Swearingen. Also,
hold on one
Dimitri
second.
Morales.
Hold on one second. Denny Grubb again nails it. He's the stat guy. He makes my stats go to shame. Denny Grubb says 26,200 followers in honor of 26.2 mile marathon. So to counter Denny's 26.2 million followers for us to do the Boston Marathon.
Yeah,
we guys have to have a number that's just unreachable for us.
Yeah,
That's how it
nuts.
is. But yes, Denny, I do love the idea of that.
If we could tag somebody in, that'd be awesome. We're tag you and I back and forth going all the way down. So, also Dimitri Morales, friend of the show, he is going to be fighting on Friday, and also another local boy, Connor White and Tyler Hescock. So tickets are still available. Very few, from what I understand. You can get those at ticketswets.com or go out. I would just go out to the casino. Go buy your tickets. I know tickets are very.
Are you going out there Saturday?
I am going out there. I've got my ticket, and
frustrated. I have to work. I couldn't quite take that one off because obviously I missed all of work last week.
All right.
For the Vegas trip, I'm missing most of my casino work next week because we're doing the NFL draft and I'm covering some LC stuff. So I just could not take 3 straight Saturdays off. They would fire me.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So I'm disappointed to not be able to go out there. We're going to switch things up real quick. I know I messaged Robert Taylor, and I think he's still listening, and he's been nice enough to comment a few times. But I asked him to come on and just comment for our sports-related draft to make sure we had somebody this week.
All right.
And it was going to be in this spot. Austin Arnett was going to be on the show and talk about this card coming up and the life of MMA. I never listen. I know Robert Taylor. I know you never listen. That's just his way of life, I think. But so we're gonna have Arnett on and talk about. Is it a dojo? Is that what the MMA places are called? Or okay, so talk about his dojo and these fights coming up. Things have come up. He has to go out and cover classes. Totally understand. We will have him on after probably the fights or at some other point or to promote the next fights, which whenever we can get him on. We will get him on for sure, but we were going to have him judge.
What scared me is having him on. We were going to be over the 600.
Oh,
mark. We would have been over the 600, and you would have been having to fight, and I would have been recording it.
Yeah, it's not how that's going to work. I will be recording and rooting you on. Or I still want to know what managerial object you want me to carry, because all the old school managers had that one crazy object, whether it's the giant cell phone, the tennis racket, all that stuff. Okay. So we were going to have him on, and it was your week to do the sports-related draft. Since last week we did not have one, which totally made sense. So Robert Taylor is now here to be our judge. So, sir, go ahead and give him the topic and the instructions that we're going to do on this, because you and I had a fight this week doing this draft.
A little bit. Hey, I would have thought we were done team, and we did a little bit, but the idea was having Austin on.
Yep.
And I went up to the last fight up in Spokane and watched Dimitri and watched Brian fight, and listening to the music coming out and what these guys were walking down to. I thought, oh, what better way is to know what a guy who has been fighting professionally for, he was 17-7. We'll talk about it when he comes back on.
Right.
Professional fighter, 17-7. What do you pump yourself up to? What do you come out to? And so I thought, okay, there we go. Perfect thing. We can figure out what he walks out to, what song comes out, whether it's like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Can't Stop, or whatever.
Right.
What they come out to. And so I thought, okay, there we go. What is the best instrument, song, or music? And so that was the idea behind it. So with me picking the category, you get to go first.
Okay.
You didn't like that. You said one, and then I put
the same song. We'll get to it in a second. So I need to understand the rules. So it's somebody's entrance music, right? Whether it's a team or a player. Professional wrestling counts. Okay. And it has to be used by somebody, right?
Oh, it could be anything. I mean, you look at some of the basketball teams around here, the songs that they play. I mean, you can't pinpoint.
Are we like introduction songs work?
I think so.
Okay. I was really close on one, and I ended up not using them, and I'll bring it up after the fact. But
you already told me I lost, so
I know you lost because I have questions. All right, let's start. I get the very first pick, and you have to go with the iconic one, the one that everyone thinks about when you think of baseball. And I'm hoping Denny Grubb's still sticking around too for this. And I'm sure he's here waiting for me to talk about how his Orioles beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 in an embarrassing fashion because the Yankees continue to go, we're playing a crappy team. We're just going to bench everybody when nobody's red hot.
I was giving him score updates on Friday and on Sunday.
It was an embarrassing weekend. After you beat Boston and you split with Toronto and you get beat by Baltimore. It's horrible. But Yankees, Mariano Rivera, Enter Sandman. It's perfect. It's not only perfect for baseball. It works great. Virginia Tech uses it. Football, I would use it. Like if I was some big bad UFC fighter, that's what I would come out to. It's all about putting you to sleep. I think that would work out perfectly. So Enter Sandman Metallica is my first pick.
There you go, Denny. The 2022 series heading to Camden. I like that. And I guess I should have went a little bit more specific. And I had written it down too, because I like the version of seeing what they do at Virginia Tech.
Yes, the entrance
is awesome.
Is better.
And even Clarkson, and you laughed at. He said we have gotten to the point where the Clarkson football team runs out to that version of the Virginia Tech, of Enter Sandman.
The same song.
And
it's not a different version. It's just louder because there's 70,000 people.
The way they've clipped it is a little bit different.
Well, that's true because you want to hit the high note faster for the football entrances.
Right.
For Rivera, you could play the whole song because you want to hit the big notes while he's warming up. That's the point of the it's a different from a walk-up song to a reliever song is he wants to be listening to that while he's throwing his warm-up pitches. So a little different. But there you go. Enter Sandman, Metallica, first pick, I win.
Okay, fine. So for my first one, and you're gonna laugh. This is
I laughed when I read this. You want to know
why I went this song?
Okay.
I went Eye of the Tiger, Survivor.
It's not even the best Rocky entrance theme.
That's exactly why I put it in there, was because of Rocky. When I think of Rocky, that is the song that I think of all the time. Him when he's getting ready to take on Ivan. Whatever. That's not what his name was, but
Ivan Drago.
Yeah, Drago.
Yeah.
So and that's why I did.
Not even his best entrance. The one that he does, like the Frank Sinatra one, the High Hopes or whatever, in the Rocky Balboa, that is his best entrance theme. And my question is, other than a fictional character, who comes out to this?
That's just one that we didn't specify.
Yes. Hearts on Fire is better, which is also from Rocky IV, which is also why I'm not a big concert goer. Mm-hmm. The only it's a sad thing to say, the only concert I've ever been to is John Cafferty when he was at the Clearwater River Casino. If anybody has never heard of him, my mom was a huge Eddie and the Cruisers fan, and John Cafferty is the person that does the actual music for that movie. John Cafferty also did Hearts on Fire, and I went, I have to go listen to Hearts on Fire live. He did not play Hearts on Fire that entire concert, and I've not been to a concert since. There you go. All right, so that is Enter Sandman for me. Eye of the Tiger for you. Second round, and this worked out even better for me after WrestleMania happens, but Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. And I was looking up, trying to find out who comes out to these songs.
Mom's already said Eddie. Yeah.
Trying to figure out who comes out to these songs. Do you know who comes out to Seven Nation Army? You know, you watch these dart clips. Mm-hmm. The one of the best dart players in the world, this bald guy. What is it, Michael Van Gerwen? Mm-hmm. He comes out to Seven Nation Army, so that made it count for one. But Pat McAfee came out to it at WrestleMania, as well.
That was cool.
And the reason why this is my second pick, just listen to the crowd. The crowd, no matter where you play it, gets into that beat of that song, and you can really get a crowd pumped up as you come out. Seven Nation Army is my second pick.
Well, Danny, guess what? You do take the one that I'm gonna say, and it's Thunderstruck, and you hear a lot of them from a lot of MMA fighters have used it, come out to that. Mm-hmm. And there's just something about that, even having it playing in the background, and we've heard it too, and not as an entrance song, but even right over there in that activity center, you hear it during Golden Throne. Man, that place just is electric. And some of even I've been up to Beasley, and you hear it go off, and you know what's coming. And so for me, it's got to be Thunderstruck. And that's
I absolutely love this song.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more, like you said, a timeout song than an entrance song.
It is my my number one favorite rock song. Thunderstruck is my favorite.
To be fair, anytime I hear Thunderstruck, I can only think of Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
All I think about is that scene after they do the whole strip club scene, and then they come out all hungover going into the football game, and they get Thunderstruck because they get completely destroyed. That's all I can think about. And when that song comes on, is I'm getting just destroyed by the football team afterwards. So, all right. So I had to do a wrestling theme.
I didn't know this is who did this song too. I had to look it up.
So my third pick, I was trying to think, and just I don't know if it's just recency biased, but with Stone Cold coming back for WrestleMania, which still makes me upset because for 19 years, I was able to say I was at Stone Cold's last wrestling match, and I can no longer say that because he wrestled this year. But his late 90s version of this song, and shout out to Harry for reminding me of this version of the song before we get onto it. But, you know, in the late 90s when wrestling was at its absolute peak, they came out with two different CDs.
Right.
One was rock-based versions of themes. One was rap-based versions of themes. Very few of them stuck, but I think this worked. The Glass Shatters by Disturbed for Steve Austin. You go listen to it. It hits all of the same hard notes that the Austin theme is known for, but has these great lyrics too as well. I think another one that any MMA fighter could come out to and it would just nail. But it hits hard with Austin. I think it's the best entrance theme ever.
For wrestling, I think that's number one, maybe number two. Kid Rock coming out when he came out to Kid Rock too. I mean,
The Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, I like that later one, but yeah, I like that.
The Limp Bizkit,
I know which one.
The Limp Bizkit Undertaker was better than the Kid Rock Undertaker. Just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I think I actually now you're gonna make me go home and go through the CDs I have, but I think I have the CD of the entrance songs of some of those guys in that
the rock
Attitude area.
Yeah.
That was coming out. I think I have that one. So you go Disturbed with your final pick. For me, I am going another late 80s, early 90s song. Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, you've had Glover Teixeira walk out to it. You've had Carl Frock, both fighters come out to it. Craig Kimbrell, when he was closing, he came out to
this thing. No, get out of here. Get out of here with that.
He also had that song. So, and it's also another one of those songs that comes out that everybody knows, and it's about singing it or getting behind it and just being loud about it. So
horrible.
All right, Robert. So here it is. Those were our picks. So first off, Randy, he got Enter Sandman by Metallica, Seven Nation Army by White Stripes, and Glass Shatters by Disturbed. I am taking Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. I know Denny's going to agree with me that I win. That's a no-brainer.
That's not true at all.
And I think the last couple are going to lean my way from Robert Taylor.
What are you talking about?
I think so.
So while we wait for Robert Taylor's decision on the pick, the one that really came to my mind, but I wanted to make sure I got at least one wrestling theme in there because I'm the wrestling guy, was the Chicago Bulls theme. And I always forget what it's even called, but you hear it all the time. Everyone else uses that theme from the mid 90s that the Bulls would have that would play during their little highlight package before their introductions and stuff. I can never remember who does it, but it's so good. And with that, Robert Taylor.
Seven Nation Army puts him over the top. Of all songs, is going to put him over the top.
Seven Nation Army song is good.
I like it.
So Robert Taylor on our Facebook page, for those listening on KLCC 88.9 FM Lewiston, he did say the correct winner, and that was me. I knew I had this one in the bag.
I don't think it was totally
in the bag. That is 10 wins now for me. You're 5.
And no, I'm not even saying that one. You can read it. I ain't reading it. There is no way.
Of course, your wife is Jesse's girl.
No.
That's so great.
No.
I want to see. I want to see. But that's what I like. I want to see an MMA. Yeah, thank you. The Alan Parsons Project is who does the Bulls theme. It's a great theme.
Oh,
and it's
I
a great.
love it.
It's not an interest theme, but it's a great introduction theme, and everyone uses it now. But that's what I want to see. This big bad MMA fighter going out to punch this guy's nose in, and comes out to Jesse's girl or something just absurd.
I got in her car the other day. No lie. I got in her car to drive. I don't remember where I was going with it. And I think it was Thursday night because I drove her car Thursday, ran to the store really quick while she was taking our grandson up to go see Blippi on Thursday. And I got in her car and it was on the 80 station. And one of his only other hits, I couldn't tell you. I want to say it was like Lonesome. She's gonna correct me, like Lonesome something. Rick Springfield came on, and it was like automatic change station. That's when I set it to MLB Network, and that's where it stayed. And that's where she got.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure Denise does the same thing anytime we come on the station.
No, she's listening. So
only because she knew about music. And she had to do the joke.
Let me tell you,
she's probably not even listening. She just wanted to say Jesse's girl on the thing.
I have to admit this, and she knows this, and I've told her many times that she DJ'd and worked at a rollaway for years. She was still working there when we get there. You talk to somebody about trivia of 80s and 90s stuff, or just the entrance of certain songs, she can tell you right away, just because she played them so much. You know, she lived down there. So, I guess maybe I should have asked her a little bit more rock stuff of.
It does show you our entrance or interest in music. It was all rock. It was all rock.
Yeah. Man, we could have played. I could have played a lot of country something. So.
All right, so that will do it for our sports-related draft this week. I go back on top.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Robert says he's got to go take care of his toddler. Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, Robert, especially with picking the correct person. I am now beating you 10-5 to 1. Denny Grubb has one win in our match somehow. And it's just how it worked. It's just so great. Which is I'm afraid to ever ask Denny Grubb to be our judge again because he comes out as the winner. It's just.
He did. That was perfect.
All right, let's move on to the regularly scheduled part of our show. Let's get back to Major League Baseball, and we'll go through the scoreboard just real quick.
You don't want to start with the Yankees losing to the Orioles?
No, and we've already talked about it. They lost 2 out of the 3. It was embarrassing. The hitters no-showed that entire deal, and it was rough to watch. Scoreboard right now, Nationals are ahead of the Diamondbacks 1-0 in the top of the 9th. They had won the first game of the doubleheader 6-1. Mets are over the Giants 3-1 in the bottom of the 6th. They had a walk-off from Francisco Lindor in game 1 in 10 innings. They won that one 5-4. Cardinals are over the Marlins 5-1 in the bottom of the 8th. Yankees are over the Tigers 3-2 in the bottom of the 6th. More on the Tigers here shortly. Blue Jays and Red Sox tied at 1 in the bottom of the 6th. Rays beating the Cubs 4-3 in the top of the 6th inning. Bottom of the 6th, Brewers beating the Pirates 4-1. Angels are over the Astros 2-1 in the top of the 4th. Twins over the Royals 2-1 in the top of the 5th. 1-0 Phillies over the Rockies in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Just getting ready to get started. You have the Orioles and Athletics, Reds and Padres, and Rangers and Mariners. And then at 7:00, you get a good one between the Braves and the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm excited with that one. I watched that game last night, and I'll give you a little poke. That's my game. That's my series of the week, watching the Dodgers and the Braves.
And let's just start there. Freddie Freeman.
Oh, dude.
First at bat against Atlanta.
Second pitch. Yeah.
Home run. First home run of the year on top of it. The only thing that would have made it better is if it was in Atlanta.
Yes, I think that.
My question to you is when the Dodgers do go to Atlanta for the first time this year, does Freddie Freeman get cheered or booed?
I think you have to cheer him. I think more of Atlanta's faithfuls are more upset that they didn't try to keep him. So
yeah, I think so too. I think he kind of got screwed out of that whole deal.
I think he gets an unbelievable welcome back to I was going to say Fulton County Stadium, but it's not Fulton County Stadium anymore. That's what it was years ago. But yeah, I think the Braves fans are just going to give him one of the best ovations ever for a returning player.
Also, speaking of the Dodgers, something that happened, just 2 days after our last show, 3 days? I guess we did it Monday. So a couple of days after our last show, Clayton Kershaw was perfect through 7 innings and was pulled from the game. We have seen a few pitchers get pulled with a no-hitter. I think the Padres did it back-to-back days. Their first 2 games of the year, they had no-hitters through 6 or 7 innings, pulled the starting pitcher, and the reliever gives up a hit instantly. I'm pretty sure the same thing happened here. But Kershaw threw 80 pitches, 13 strikeouts through 7 innings pitched, and was pulled from the game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I hate saying it, but I almost agree with it. I'm good with it just because I think a lot of these guys didn't have the time for the training and to really push a guy that much. I mean, he was already 80 pitches. What's the chances?
Already?
Well, I mean, through 7, he's already 80 pitches, but you look and go back to over the last few years, how many guys in the first couple of starts go past 80, 90 pitches? Not many.
I agree.
So
but
I think they're just looking long term. And then
I get the long term, and Kershaw always has the injury problems anyway, so
Right.
they're playing it safe. I totally get that. With the no-hitters, I totally get that because no-hitters are not as rare as they used to be. We get several of them, especially early on in the year. How many times last year did we have a no-hitter that we talked about and went, oh, we won't see it again for the rest of the year. Oh, the next week. Oh, here's another no-hitter. So they're not as rare. I get that. It's a perfect game.
Perfect, yeah.
How many perfect games have there been in the history of baseball?
23.
23 official perfect games. Just ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous than that is what happened in Japan. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard this one.
Roki Sasaki for somebody. I forgot to write the team down.
That sounds like a mixed drink or something.
Who will be in the majors in a few years. He's 20 years old.
Okay.
Was pulled from a perfect game after 8 innings pitched. He struck out 19 batters in those 8 innings on 102 pitches. What's crazier about that, not only was he 1 inning away from a perfect game, this was a start after his last start was a perfect game. He was 1 inning away from back-to-back perfect games, and they pulled him.
It kind of, I think, maybe depends. What is it early in their season?
I'm sure it's early in their season as well.
That'd be the only
He threw
thing,
105 pitches in his perfect game where he struck out 14 batters.
Right.
In his last start, he struck out 19 batters in the 8 innings and 102 pitches. So he was 3 pitches away from that mark. So he was going to end up going over it in the last inning.
Right.
He's 20 years old. Let him go for it.
Chance it. I mean,
he has retired 52 straight batters over there. That is insane.
Right. And that's the thing. You say he's young. Clayton Kershaw isn't a spring chicken either. No. But I mean, I think I would have loved to see whether or not he can go back to back.
Yes. Absolutely. Go for it, kid. Have somebody ready the moment you give up a walk or a hit, you're pulled.
Yep.
You're 1 inning away. It's kind of shocking. Let's just say that.
Just a little bit.
Speaking of not a spring chicken, Miguel Cabrera nearing the 3,000 hit mark. Came into today 5 hits away from that mark. He's got 1 hit today against the Yankees. He is 1 for 2. He did get hit by a pitch that does not count for as a hit. So he's 4 away. He's got 2 more games with the Yankees, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Does he get it in this series?
I would love to see it because it'd be at home. I mean, well deserved. And you and I have said this a few times. He is one of my favorite non-Mariner player, not just overall player of all time to ever watch. Just the way he interacts with fans and other players. I think for me, he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I would love to see him get, 4 more hits against the Yankees, and not just because it's against the Yankees, but to do it at home and do it in that fact, be awesome.
Luckily for him, so he has today, tomorrow, and Thursday versus the Yankees. He's also at home the next series against Colorado, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there's a good chance
he breaks it at home.
He can break it at home. I have no problem with him doing it against the Yankees. I'm right there with you. Pure class act player. Obviously started with the Marlins. He's already cursed the Yankees with the 2003 World Series, being one of the young Marlins that ended up getting traded away and then had a great career with Detroit. So
what's funny is I can't remember, and it was a few years ago, and I posted the video. It was on my Facebook page as a memory the other day. That when I was scrolling back, I want to say it was him and Clemens in 2003, and Clemens was pitching him inside and backed him off the plate, and then the next pitch is when he hit the home run.
Maybe I can't remember. Can't remember Clemens.
I think Denny will correct me.
Maybe I can't remember Clemens going that far with the Yankees, but he might have. Like all those years kind of mixed together. The only Clemens World Series moment I can remember is when he threw inside Mike Piazza and broke his bat, and the bat went back to Clemens, and then he accidentally, quote unquote, threw it right at Piazza, which made absolutely no sense.
Right.
So that's the one memory that's in my head. Oh yeah,
class act. He gets in there. I mean, he'll get it this week. So
yeah, for sure this week. Possibly against the Yankees
tomorrow.
No,
I haven't even seen the starting pitchers yet.
Again, he'd have to have 4 hits. It's like give him a couple more hits tomorrow. Give him 2 hits on Thursday, and there you go. We already said Miguel Cabrera. We believe first ballot Hall of Famer. Is the Hall of Fame in line for Jake Arrieta, who announced his retirement this week? There's a 2015 Cy Young. He fell on some hard times down the road. I just don't think he's got there. He's won the World Series. He won a Cy Young. To me, not a Hall of Famer, but a decent enough career.
Yeah, a good career. I don't see him making it there. But kind of shocked to see him call it quits already. So shocking there. Looking back, just to get back to Miggy for a second, Luis Severino is pitching for your Yankees tomorrow. So I haven't seen the numbers.
He's looked okay.
Yeah, so might not be tomorrow with the way Severino has been pitching so far.
Jake Arrieta careers, again, he did fall on some hard times later on. He finished 115 and 93 with a 3.98 career ERA, 1,433 strikeouts and 1,612 innings pitched. Had some fantastic years in there. He went 22-6 with the Cubs back in 2015. And last year with 2 different teams went 5-14.
See, and that would be a great thing to try to figure out too. And this, just because you're a stat guy, Danny's a stat guy. When will MLB have baselines to get into the Hall of Fame? You're just thinking about, do you think, he's to be a starting pitcher to get in, you've got to have at least 200 wins? Or
that's even harder now because your 200 wins is now the old 300 wins. It's going to be so hard to get to because you don't start as much. You're not going as long in these games. Right. We used to get several 20-win pitchers a year. But now it's a rarity.
Right.
And those it's straight luck a lot of times. Right. Not only do you have to have the lead when you get pulled in the 5th inning, but then the bullpen it has to make sure they don't blow it for you. So
it'd be a thought. I mean, as many spots that are coming open, do you think they ever get to that point? Whether or not you're a hitter, whether or not you're a reliever, whether or not, I mean, it's still the same question we hear every year, and it was the same when we started talking, with Edgar getting in as a DH. I mean, there's so many different lines for each player. When do you think, it makes you wonder if they will ever get to that point where you have to have a minimum of happening.
No, I mean, the Hall of Fame is it's opinion based,
right?
And it always will. So I don't think there'll ever be, okay, you have to do this and you have to do that. I just don't think it's quite feasible just yet. Let's do our first power rankings of the year. We're going to do a little different this year. We're going to give you our top 5 and our bottom 3, just for fun. We're not going to do it's because we're not doing the full ones that we did last year on our Facebook page. You and I are just extremely busy, and
busy.
To be 100% fair, it just never got a lot of traffic. Maybe we'll bring it back again some other day, whether it's baseball or football. But it just, for the amount of effort it took for us to put them together, it just was not bringing in the traffic. So we will continue to do it on the show. Just gives us a chance to bring up teams. It's going to go really quick this week and probably for the first few weeks because we're weekend.
Right. Exactly.
Who knows? But my top 5, and we'll do top 5s first, but my top 5, Giants are 5th. I had to put them on there, even though I still don't believe in this team. But last year, I never believed in that team, and they ended up with the best record in major leagues. Then fell off in the playoffs. But have them 5th. Mets are off to a really hot start. They spent all that money. So far, it's been working for them. I have the Mets 4th. Toronto's offense is just gross. They have a better pitching staff than I think that they've shown early on. I have them 3rd. Chicago White Sox, I had going to the World Series. I still think they're the best team in the American League. I have them 2nd. And of course, with the way the Dodgers are starting, with the lineup and rotation that they have, you have to think they're the best team. So I have the Dodgers number 1.
Yeah, we've got the same 5. I just a little bit different order. Right now, the way they're pitching, I have the Mets 5th. I think could be probably the best rotation so far. I mean, it's hard to bet against Scherzer, Carrasco, and those guys. They're doing really well. I was back and forth with 3 and 4, but I put Toronto 4 just because, I want to give the benefit of the doubt to the Giants. They played quite well last year. They're out to a good start. Another deep rotation, for those guys. I think they could easily, but what Vlad's doing in
3 home runs against the Yankees the other day. Yep.
It's just crazy, So I was back and forth with both of them. And then you and I agree with the top 2. Chicago's winning every series so far. I mean, looking what they did. And what was the first comment I messaged you after everybody was telling us, the Dodgers lost the first couple? And I'm like,
it's early. It's still early. It's going to be early until Memorial Day. And even then, it's still early.
Yeah, and they rattled off 6 in a row. Yep. Yeah, they lost, but they rattled those off. So, yeah. So for me, it's the Dodgers, White Sox, Giants, Blue Jays, Mets were the same, just a little different.
How about your bottom 3?
Bottom 3, I am going Arizona at the absolute bottom. They just are not, I think they have the lowest batting average. They're batting like 150 or something crazy.
Team. And they're in a tough division.
Yeah, in a very tough division. And then I'm going to go Cincinnati. They've lost 6 straight. They just can't seem to generate anything. And sorry, Denny, even though they did really, really good against the Yankees, I have Baltimore down at 28.
I have the same 3 teams, just again in slightly different order. I have Cincinnati last. They traded everyone but Joey Votto, and Joey Votto has not started off well.
No.
That team is completely tanked. Oakland is right out of my bottom 3, but they're actually playing well. I don't think they're a very good team, but they're playing well. I have Baltimore 29th. I'm bitter. I'm upset. You take 2 out of 3. Yankees are. I think it's in 2 weeks. They'll get their revenge if the bats ever remember how to swing. So I have Baltimore 29th, and I'm with you. Arizona, I thought was going to be an okay team. They could still end up being an okay team. I have no thoughts of them being in playoff contention, but 70, 75 wins maybe. But the way they've started, it's definitely not the way I look at it. So Arizona, Baltimore, Cincinnati are my bottom 3. We go to our player of the week. You took the main one that I had also noticed, so I will let you go second here. But
all right,
how about Trey Turner for me? Yes, only a 345 batting average, but 3 stolen bases in there, 9 RBIs, hits a home run as well. Just a dual threat that Trey Turner is, and his contributions have really helped with the Dodgers finally getting things going after that slow start.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. And it's like, you and I've talked. I've always, and I had this conversation with some parents on at the high school game that I went and watched on Saturday. I like to watch I like to watch small ball, move the players around, stolen bases. I am all for that. So see what Trey Turner did. But I had to go with who I picked that was going to be the MVP of the American League. Jose Ramirez, dude, was on fire.
The only player left in Cleveland.
Oh my God. 10 of 29. He was batting over 500, 2 home runs.
10 of 19.
Did I say 9? 10 of 19.
You said 10 of 29, which is what Trey Turner did. But yeah, 10 of 19.
But out of his 10 hits, 5 of them were for extra bases, 10 RBIs. That's just nuts. I mean, just, you know, he is he is the Guardians lineup right now, and that's what's keeping them where they're at. So
you're getting a shout out there, sir.
I guess. Hello, Tony. How are you? Denny Grubb's sending.
Yeah, he's not. Denny's grumpy, and I figured it, and I don't care. I don't care if Denny's grumpy. I was grumpy all weekend because of Denny Grubb's team.
You made that comment. I think, don't you guys work together in 2 weeks in the press box?
Yes.
When that
they might not let me in. He might not let me in the Denny Grubb press box to cover the baseball games.
Bring him some Grubhub. Bring him some Grubhub.
Do we even do Grubhub here?
I don't think so.
How about your series to watch?
I noted this a little bit ago, but I think this early matchup of the Atlanta Braves and LA Dodgers, the two teams that finished the best last year in the NL, I think this is kind of a start point right now of where both of these guys are going, and that game is getting ready to kick off here pretty quick. But if it's anything to like the way yesterday's game started out, it's going to be a great series.
Yeah, that'll probably be the game that I watch while I am working down at the Tribune tonight. Have that up on the second monitor. Keep an eye on it because I think it's going to be a great series as well. Weekend series for you, Toronto and Houston. There's so much firepower between those two teams. Again, it is April, so not that the bats have not really gotten rolling just yet, unless you're Vlad and you hit 3 of them against the Yankees. But I think it's going to be really, really fun. Just early peak at two very, very good teams. Speaking of baseball, let's go to LC as they won 3 of 4 against College of Idaho. Very big series as those two were neck and neck as far as the top seed goes for Cascade conference play goes, as far as who's going to be the host for the Cascade conference tournament. So LC wins 3 of 4. They go to 41-4 on the year. They did lose our first home game of the season. It was a 6-5 loss in game 2 of a doubleheader on Friday in 10 innings.
Right. And that was crazy. So I was there calling that game. And so I know you were on the road, you were still down, but they had the lead most of the way. And then they give up 1 in the top of the 9th on a long home run. And then give up a 2-run shot in the 10th. So it was a great game nonetheless. The 2 games that I got to see, but unbelievable game in College of Idaho there.
Danny giving a score update. It's 1-0 by the 29th seeded Orioles against Oakland. I love it. Yeah, it's the 28 seed.
I had 28.
Yeah, you had 28. I had 29. That's right. So he had it right.
So they're 28.5 then?
28.5, yeah.
The 28.5 seed.
Somewhere in there. On Saturday, Dawson Day had a fantastic performance. 13 strikeouts and 7 shutout innings for that win. And then College of Idaho jumped out to a 3-0 lead on Sunday before LC scored the next 9 runs. They ended up winning that one 9-6. AJ Davis ended up getting his first home run of the season.
Did you listen to the call on that one?
I didn't get to.
So we replayed it, and here Alicia over in the box next to us, and I don't think Denny heard it, but he heard it live from Danner with Darren. Brian Danner said, "Well, that doesn't happen very often." Right in the middle of the play, and we're laughing. Shanna's sitting next to me, and just listen to Alicia after replaying the audio bite that Danner had mentioned.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was great to see AJ hit his first home run there. But to give up 3 runs in the first 3 innings, 2 home runs and a hit by pitch to score the other run. It was a little shaky start, but then Zach Threlfall come out and hit a couple of big ones. Luke White had a big hit too. So
Cascade Conference standings right now. LC leads the way at 12-3. College of Idaho is 12-8. Oregon Tech at 9-7. British Columbia at 8-8. Bushnell 9-11. Corbin 7-9. I believe the top 4 teams make the Cascade tournament, and then whoever finishes the best minus LC will get the automatic bid into the NAIA opening rounds, because LC obviously has their own automatic bid, but they also play in that tournament. LC has 2 regular season series left. They'll be on the road against Oregon Tech Saturday and Sunday, and then their final regular season homestand versus Bushnell Saturday and Sunday, and it gets right into it. Cascade Conference Tournament will be May 9th and 11th, most likely here at Harris Field, the way things are standing right now. Then the opening round will also be here at Harris Field, May 16th through the 19th. First time in a long time. Well, I guess first time that LC will be in the opening rounds, because it was different back before LC got the automatic bid. But the first time LC will have to work through these opening rounds to get the automatic bid into the World Series. So show up like it is the World Series, because we don't want to see it. And LC is a very, very good team. But the way that those opening rounds work, if 5 teams show up, double elimination, last team standing moves to the World Series. So show up and give out huge support through May 16th and the 19th. And then the NAIA World Series, May 27th through June 3rd. So a lot of action over there at Harris Field. The poor Lancers, when I give them the calendar of days that I cannot work, it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, and we'll hit on this. Make sure if you plan on attending, go to lcwarriors.com. Get your tickets already for that opening round stuff. They're already selling them, so make sure you get those. Don't want to get locked out. You know,
absolutely.
You and I will be able to get in because we're working. But I mean, it'll be.
I was joking around with Haley earlier today. It's like May is going to be so interesting. I work for technically.
I remember those days.
4 jobs.
Right.
3 of them all are wrapped around Lcsc baseball come May, and it's like I was talking to her about the World Series. It's like I'm just taking that whole week off from Lancers, because I'm pretty sure I'll be working every game, whether it's for a radio station, a newspaper, or just helping Alicia out. And so I'll just be bouncing around, maybe both, who knows? For 2 different places at once. Who knows? It's going to be a headache.
Who knows? You might be sitting in the box next to Denny just trying to help keep stats. I mean,
it's going to be a very busy May, and I'm so looking forward to it. I love this time of year.
Yeah, I do too. The only thing I'm bummed, I'll be gone for Cascade Conference, which again we think it'll be here at LC. Should be here at LC the way things are going. Unfortunately, I will be gone during that time. So
me too.
We'll be listening and online and all that.
Yeah, I'll be doing. Hopefully, the Lewiston Bengals will be working their way through their own conference tournament around that same time. But definitely all those dates, a lot of May baseball coming your way. LCSC men's tennis technically have finished their season. They have one more matchup that will not count towards the team records. We'll get to that. They do lose both of their matchups against very good opponents. They lose 1-6 to Idaho State. William Bouchard, who played his last game over there at the LCSC Activity Center, the number 1 player for the Warriors, got the big win, 6-3, 6-3, and they did get swept to Montana. So the man finished 10-10 on the season. They'll face against Bellevue Community College on Saturday, but it will not count towards their team records, just individual. The women have a few matches still left. They are 7-7 on the year. They'll play Highland Community College on Friday, Bellevue Community College on Saturday. Not sure if it's the same setup there where it doesn't count towards team, but just individual. And then the LCSC Golf, who got rained out at the end of the last tournament, so they did not play that second day, will have their Cascade Conference Championships on Monday and Tuesday at Klamath Falls in Oregon. Okay, take a deep breath, because this happens every week. I can't. It's going to be really weird when track season's over and I don't have 5 paragraphs to read. But
deep breath.
LCSC track and field was in the Whitworth Twilight last week, and once again, surprise, surprise, records fell. So
just a couple.
Here we go. We'll start with the women. I'll do the women. You do the men.
All right.
Okay. The 4x100 meter relay set a school record and a national time of 48.25 seconds. Ashley Britt, Annika Grogan, Jenica Carpenter, and Madigan Kelly were on that team. All 4 of those ladies had themselves an event. Jenna Carpenter broke her own school record in the long jump with a 5.39 meter mark to win her event. Madigan Kelly won the 100-meter hurdles with a time of 14.46 and set a personal record in the 100 meters with a time of 12.91. Annika Grogan won the 400-meter dash at a time of 57.59. Ashley Britt won the 400-meter hurdles with a time of 1 minute and 3 seconds. Geraldine Correa finished second in the 800 meters in a photo finish, according to LCWarriors.com. Emily Adams took fifth in the 1,500 meters. Grace McCormick finished second in a 3,000-meter steeplechase. And that's the one where you jump over the big hurdle into the puddle of water. Is that what the steeplechase is?
They don't do steeplechase at the high school level. So,
is anybody listening understand what the steeplechase is? That's what I think of when I was reading that. Cassidy Henderson hit a personal record in the hammer throw with a mark of 33.3, and Desiree Winslow hit a height of 2.7 meters in the pole vault to finish third.
Yeah, just crazy for what the women are doing, and it's the same for the men. The 4x800 meter relay team ran the fourth fastest time in NAIA and they got the program record at 7 minutes 46 seconds. That's just crazy. That's just nuts what those guys can do. Again, Clayton Van Dyke, friend of the show, Dylan Dawson, Connor May, and Griffin Parcells, part of that. Clayton won another event running the 1500. Ian Gardam shattered the LC record in the triple jump with a 13.03 meter jump. That's just nuts to think about. 13.03
So he did
meters.
that on 3 jumps.
Right.
How many jumps would it take you?
That's over 39 feet, almost 41 feet. That's
so
just
15
nuts.
jumps?
Yeah, well, I would say at least 5.
May have to test that. Go ahead.
No. That'd be ugly. Mr. Ian Gardam also took second in the 110 meter hurdles. Cole Olson, also a friend of the show, won the 5,000 meter. Clayton Van Dyke again ran a personal best in the 400 meter with a 50.68. Bryson Brown ran a personal best of 3 in the 3,000 steeplechase with a time of 9 minutes 52. Ike Hopper won the 400 meter hurdle with a time of 2.5. So next up for the Warriors, the Cascade Conference Multi-Championships happening this weekend, April 21st and 22nd. So Thursday, Friday.
And yes, steeplechase is what I was thinking of, where it's one giant hurdle, and then some of them you fall into the water, which makes no sense to me why some of these have water in it, other than, hey, cool yourself down.
No, that's just silly.
And then real quick, your hard-hitting NBA news. Just right. I mean,
okay.
The playoffs are going on. We got to hit it. Mets are leading Atlanta 1-0 in that series. Their game is going on.
Mets?
What did I say? Yeah, the Mets. Miami. See, it's baseball season. Miami's beating Atlanta 1-0. Their game's going on right now. Boston leads Brooklyn 1-0. Game 2's tomorrow. Kyrie is flipping off fans or something.
Yeah, Cage Sabota will be at that game tomorrow. He's at the Toronto game now, but he'll be at that game tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see Brooklyn and Boston.
The 3 seed Milwaukee leading Chicago 1-0. Their game 2 is tomorrow. Philadelphia leading Toronto 2-0. Their game 3 is tomorrow. So all 4 top seeds leading their opening round so far. On the Western Conference, Phoenix leads New Orleans 1-0. Game 2 is tonight. The 7 seed Minnesota upset Memphis in their first game. Their second game is tonight as well. Golden State won their first 2 games against Denver. Game 3 is on Thursday, as is Game 3 between Dallas and Utah. That series is tied. That's all the basketball talk you're getting.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
That's all we got. You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. You can also check us out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. I think YouTube, we're near 30 subscribers because nobody listens to us there. Totally fine. We're reaching 600 followers on Facebook. We're like 23, 24 away right now. Once we hit 600, we will put out a poll. The poll will basically read, who do you want to see get embarrassed in an MMA class? Robert or Randy? That's just the way it is going to end up. Who wants to get embarrassed? We will film one of us training with the great Austin Arnett up there at his dojo for one of his classes. We will film and edit out the puking. for you guys because it's going to happen.
I saw Brian last Wednesday, and he's like, I can't wait. And it's the same thing. I'll probably see him tomorrow. He says, are you getting close? Are you ready to come in? I'm scared of Brian. I don't think I want to go against Brian. I don't even think I want to
see that.
I don't think I want to even go against Jared. I mean, Jared's big.
Maybe they'll just put you and I against each other and just laugh.
Can we do the inflatable like Yokozuna?
I'm down for that. That's where we're at. It is currently 48 degrees outside. Very beautiful day.
Yeah. Don't forget, we were going to talk about this. We want to make sure that you guys know we do have a thing going on with Art Under the Elms.
Yes.
Here on campus next week.
This week.
Yeah, this week. What did say
this weekend. Go check it out. KLCZ will have a booth. I'm still trying to figure out what time Friday I'm going to help volunteer. But you want to hang out with any of the radio guys, learn about the radio station, get your own show. Again, anyone can have a show. They let us have one.
Yeah.
We're 75 episodes in and they still haven't kicked us out of here.
75. I think you miscounted. We're hitting 80 next week.
Oh, no, you're right. 79. 80 is next week. You are 100% correct.
We're hitting 80 next week. You believe that?
Yeah, and they still haven't kicked us out.
No.
And I can't count, apparently, or read, or talk. So anybody can have a show.
Well, then let's just do that. We're going to let you talk for a minute. How about this? Let's reflect a little bit on how national went.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bowling. I know we want to hit on these sports that don't get enough airtime, but before we get into some high school stuff. So overall, first thoughts. This was your first time to South Point.
Yes.
To bowl. South Point, if you're not familiar where that's at, they split their bowling center. The desk is in the middle.
So nice.
Which, so you don't have all 80 lanes. You know, if you go to Nationals or Reno next year, where Nationals will be for the men next year, which we're already reserved for our time to go down next year. But
look at you.
Totally different look compared to the bowling centers. What did you think about South Point?
I love South Point so much more because it's not as intimidating. Because, like you said, it's split. So you have 30 lanes on each side of this arena instead of 70 that are just stretched out, which we'll talk about it in a second. But I had professional lessons done at the Orleans, which is like 70 lanes. And my favorite thing really quick about that is he set up on the very far lanes. The last 2 lanes is where we were set up. And the guy comes up right after we get all set up and we're talking for a few minutes that he had to move us because a league was getting ready to start. So we moved all the way down to 1 and 2. And when I looked down there, their league was 4 teams. They were using 4 lanes, but they just had to have those last 4 lanes apparently when you had 70 lanes. So I don't know. But no, I really like the experience at South Point. They really need to watch the alcohol consumption.
Listen, that never used to happen. You weren't able to. That was within the last few years.
It needs to go back.
Yeah.
It did not help that our team event started at 9:30 at night. I will give them credit. Everything started on time. Usually you're that last time and things have been pushed back, and you're not starting till even later than that. Our time was 9:30. We went out there at 9:30. Everything rolled great, but one of our teammates who came in from Montana got pretty inebriated and bowled really well his last game. So I give him credit. He was our high man the last game. But there was a group a pair to the right of us that they had 2 guys that you were afraid that they were going to fall into the lane every time they let go of the ball.
What do you expect to bowl at 9:30 at night?
There was a guy on that team, no joke, that looked like a normal human being to start. Shot a 60 his last game. And it might not even have been a 60. It might have been worse.
I mean,
because he was so inebriated.
And that's the bad thing about that. I mean, a lot of these guys, they come in early. You know, we're going in, Denise and I are going in 2 days early before we bowl and everything. And so it's a little bit, I wanted to go down earlier to get acclimated and be somewhat ready to go. But there are some people that come down and that's all they do. And I did a bowling, almost 15 years ago with 2 guys, and I'm not going to mention their names because one of the guys on that team has passed away. The other 2 are still alive, but they still have the same drinking issues, and they were late getting in for check-in, and they come strolling in with 5 minutes before we roll out. I mean, that's a lot to do. I mean, but that was also before they allowed it behind the settees, and now they do. So
it got really bad. It was not an issue for singles and doubles, partially because that's a much faster pace.
Yes.
As there's only 4 of you on a lane or on a pair of lanes instead of 10. So you're bowling pretty quickly at that point. It also helped that we were at 10:30 in the morning. Also, bowling 9:30 at night one night and then 10:30 in the morning the next morning is rough.
Just a little.
Even though, I mean, I just went I went and got a burger and went right up to the room. I didn't do anything other than that, but it got to you. It actually more got to me just bowling that late. Midnight hit hard because I had drove in the day before and went to bed pretty early. Because I was exhausted after the 14-hour drive. So I went to bed pretty early the night before. So I was up at like 3 or 4 in the morning that day. So when midnight hit, I was exhausted. And my score showed it. I was just over 200 the first 2 games, 150 the last game. I just completely fell apart. We won't talk about doubles because doubles stunk for all of us. But I was pretty proud with how I adjusted for singles. What was it, 191 the first game, and you were upset because I needed to average 192.
I said you had to. So what was your overall average? Well, I said
it was just under. It was one overall. If you count doubles, it was 189.
So I was close.
Yeah. But in singles, I do average over 200. I was very happy with that. I go 191, 201, 226. Right. So I should make the money. If you look at the last 5 years, anybody that shot at least a 600 series has made something. So I'll be at the very tail end of that number. Our team event and my all around numbers would have cashed 4 years ago, but those numbers have gone up every year. So we would not have last year. So I'm not expecting anything from there. But overall, I'm very happy with the way I bowled. Very disappointed, though, in singles because there's one side pot that you can get into for being clean for your whole set.
30 clean. Yep.
30 clean. Last year would have made you $400. I was watching a lot of people. I never saw anybody go clean on our side of the lanes when we were bowling. I went clean the first game. I went clean till the 7th frame of the second game, left the bucket and chopped it. And went clean the rest of the way. I went 29 of 30, which gives you a big fat 0 as far as money back. I was 1 frame away from going 30 clean.
Right. And there's so many different little kind of side pot games that they do, especially on singles and doubles days where you can run all of your brackets together. You can run what they do reverse brackets with your first game.
Which I should have done in singles.
I always try to get into the reverse bracket as far as doing both of them. It depends on how much you want to get into it and how much you want to spend. I know people that will dump $500-$600 just in an event, so you're laying, if you're doing that every event, I mean, you're laying close to $1,500.
Yeah, I put $50 into each event. And so I put $150 all together in brackets and probably got 100 back. So it didn't quite break even because doubles, I got nothing. It was really, really bad.
I've never got into the 30 clean pot yet.
I was so disappointed.
And I've bowled nationals 10 times now. And I just, I don't.
But before we move on, I'll just last touch on the fact that there's one time in my 9 games that I threw 4 in a row. I was able to throw a couple turkeys here and there, but just could never get my 4th in a row until my last 4 frame or my last 4 balls. The 9th and 10th frames of my very last game, I threw 4 in a row. So I'm on a streak still for a whole nother year. I've thrown my last 4 for a very long time. It was also really cool. The next day, Tony and I got together because we heard that Tommy Jones and DJ Archer were both going to be bowling their team event. So we sat down and watched them for about a game and a half. And I just have to say, anybody that will sit there and go, "Oh, you're a great bowler," and to me, Tony, Doof, Mark Barrett, any of these higher average bowlers in the Valley, we got nothing on these pros. Like just watching Tommy Jones throw the ball, that's a different animal. Just how smooth he is. The fact he threw one, it made a louder sound than anyone else in that arena, crushing the pocket for a strike, and he turned around disappointed with himself because he did something wrong. And he was on like a 4-bagger. So it wasn't like he was upset from the lane before or anything. It was just, different.
So with that being said, your experience with that really quick.
Yeah.
Do we figure out a way to invest you into the USBC
I'd
Masters?
love to. I met with Mike Jazz now, who's a professional bowling coach. He worked on some things for me to work on, which, holy crap, is just anybody out there that wants to get better at bowling, record yourself and then watch it. It's hilarious because the things that you think you're doing is not what you're doing. One of the main things he worked on me with was making my third step bigger. And I felt once he told me about that, when we were throwing a couple balls after that, where he's like, focus on your third step, just take a big third step. I felt like I was taking this just ridiculous over the top third step. Go back and watch it. It just looks like I'm walking because your brain just is so much in your head. So just seeing the before and after of different things that he was working with me on. And now that I can go back and, like he says, just work on one thing at a time, if I can clean up some of that. Very excited to see where things go as far as consistency goes. But I would love to do the USBC Masters. I'm definitely not there talent wise, but the summer will be a lot of training. That's all I know.
There you go.
All right, let's move on to some local high school sports, as the rain has been causing issues, and the snow, I guess.
No, Lake City didn't want to come. Everybody else come. Rogers came down. Liberty came down. Lake City decided, we're going to cancel against Lewiston.
Well, the snow is not fun.
It wasn't snowing up there. It was zero snow up there.
There's snowing here.
It was.
I think. I don't know.
No, it didn't. It was
I drove through snow, but still, they decided not to come. The Lewiston Lake City doubleheader will be moved till tomorrow at 2 p.m. That will be the senior day.
Okay.
So go root them on over there at Church Field. Jay McCall will have the call on the River 105.1. He was the guy that was going to cover for me on Saturday when that doubleheader was supposed to happen. He's already done all the research and got himself ready. So I told Lee, just let him have it. Go right ahead. They did split their doubleheader yesterday against Coeur d'Alene. They lost the first game 5-4. They tied it in the top of the seventh, lost at the bottom of the seventh. Came back to win 7-2 in the second game. Quentin Edmondson, and there's my mouth that don't want to work, had 5 hits in those 2 games, including 3 doubles and a home run. Absolutely fantastic there. So the Bengals now 11-3 on the year, 6-2 in league. And as things start to wind down as far as high school baseball goes, Lewiston leads the way at 6-2, Lake City 4-2, Coeur d'Alene 5-3, Post Falls 5-3. All 4 teams crushing the 4A team.
Right.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how the seeding goes for that tournament.
Yeah, and hats off to Quentin. I used to play softball with Quentin's dad, so seen him in a couple times at the game. So it'll be interesting then to see what Lewiston can pull out of their hat here over the next couple of weeks. So the Bantams also in action. They lost there on Tuesday last week. Got crushed to the number 1 team in the 2A GSL, the West Valley 11-2. But they're on Saturday. Great pitching by both Hayden Line and also by Lance Heisteman. Lance got the win in the 4-1 win on game 1. Game 2, Hayden Line picks up the win, and that one 6-1 for the Bantams. No update yet on score from tonight. They were up at Shadle Park. They had a single game tonight. Then they will turn around and play at East Valley Saturday in a doubleheader, and then they've got one game next Tuesday against Rogers. The boys for Asotin lost to Colfax 6-5, 13-5. One of their not one of their best showings this season. A little rough for those guys as they traveled. But they come back and win on Saturday in their doubleheader against Liberty, where both of the Els boys pitched and did really well. Friends of the family, the Els boys, one is a freshman, the other is a junior. So lots of things happening there for them. They beat Liberty 14-4 and also 9-5. They have a game on Monday. They're staying away from Fair Weekend. It is Fair Weekend out there, the Asotin County Fair. So they'll be back in action on Monday. They'll travel up to Grangeville, play that game. And then they've got Davenport at home for a doubleheader on Tuesday.
Score update for your close to home Seattle Mariners. I don't know if you've looked yet.
I have not.
Good. I can break the news to you. Seattle, at the bottom of the second inning, Seattle has 2 hits. They're both home runs, and they've scored 4 runs. They have 4 runs on 2 hits. Suarez hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first inning, and Kelnick with a solo shot in the bottom of the second.
Don't get me started. I told you pre-show I was still upset. I emailed both Dish Network and Root, and Root blamed Dish why we're not seeing them on TV right now.
And I'm sure when you hear from the other one, it'll be blamed the opposite way. That's how it goes. Exactly. Softball, like baseball, Lewiston's games were postponed against Lake City. I have not seen any updated change on that. Even looking at Lewiston Athletics here just a second ago to check, they have not been rescheduled at this time. The Bengals did lose both of their games to Coeur d'Alene, 16-7 and 8-7. And just like on the baseball side, the Inland Empire League standings are ridiculous right now. Coeur d'Alene's at 6-2, Post Falls is 5-3, Lewiston is 5-3, Lake City is 3-3. It's crazy. For Lewiston, they have a doubleheader against Sandpoint on Saturday, and then a week from today, a doubleheader against Lakeland.
For the Bantams, again, playing West Valley at West Valley the other day. Also the top team in the G. So tonight. And then on Saturday, they did the exact same thing against Rogers. They crushed Rogers in a doubleheader, winning 17-2 and 16-1. Rogers, and we were talking with some parents there at the Bantams baseball game. The Rogers sports program is a little on the weak side because where Rogers is located, you've got some bigger 3A schools, 4A schools. So the talent level just not there in the Rogers area. But hats off to the Bantams as they just obliterated them. They played at Shadle Park today. Again, no update for score with that one. Big one for them. They're taking on the Greyhounds on Saturday. They'll travel up the hill. They've got a doubleheader against Pullman at noon for them. So for the Asotin girls, they had their game doubleheader postponed. No makeup yet, and then they ended up losing both of their doubleheader on Saturday as there was a lot of action going on to Liberty, 5-3 and 4-3. They will be hosting Davenport on Tuesday in a doubleheader.
On the tennis side, Lewiston had their match against Moscow postponed and then lost in a great battle, from what I've heard, between them and Pullman. Pullman did win that one 8-4, but 2 of the matches apparently were insane and nearly ended up in a 6-6 tie. So great effort there by the Bengals tennis team. For Clarkston, they looks like the boys lost to West Valley 4-3, and the girls won against West Valley 4-3. And that brings me up to a point I need to ask you, as somebody on the Washington side. Why in the world do Washington high schools split up their boys and girls tennis teams and just split them, where the boys will stay home and the girls will go on the road, or vice versa?
I think that's got to be a league thing, because it
is, because Idaho doesn't do that.
It wasn't that way when I played. When I played, it was boys and girls, and all of us were there.
Went.
Yeah, we just all went. We all played at the same time, and it was like a 4-hour day because most of the high schools had 5 to 6 courts, so you were able to get all these games going in.
Yeah, but you just have 2 rotations or so, and you move on.
Doesn't make sense.
Let's have both schools have to get a bus to go the opposite ways, and it never makes any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, let's move on to the NFL, as the draft is 9 days away. A week from Thursday is the first round. Don't forget, next week's a busy week for us.
Yep.
We'll have our normal show on Tuesday, which will be right here in studio. We'll try to get some guests on and just have our normal show. And then a week from Thursday, we are going to join the copycat team of Eric Watkins and Harry Broadhurst of the Broadhurst and Watkins Sports Report. The 4 of us will get together and we will live stream our reactions to the entire first round of the NFL draft. And Harry the other on Sunday asked me, he goes, it's going to be 4 hours, right? I go, yep, we did it last year. We learned some things last year. Yep. We're going to come out with a more professional looking deal and try to give you as much information as we can. but it's just going to be for sports fans giving our live reactions to what we see. It's going to be great because Eric is a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. It's the first pick in the draft. Right. Jacksonville could also trade up because they have obviously the first pick in the second round. So they can move up again, and we'll see how that goes. As a Jets fan, we have the 4th and 10th picks. Buffalo is the 25th pick, I think. Baltimore is the 15th pick. So we're all over the place as far as fandoms go, and we'll give you our takes there as well. So it'll be both on our Facebook page and the W2M Facebook page. We'll have it all over the place, so join us there as well. But let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit more. We did our full first-round mock last week, right? And we may hit some more stuff next week as our last touch-up before. But I want to change it up a little bit. Let's do some first-round prop bets.
All right.
So let's just go straight off the bat. Who's the first quarterback off the board?
I think it's one between two. I mean, as much as I've been a huge Desmond Ridder fan from Cincinnati. I really like his gameplay. I don't think he is probably going to be a top pick. I think it's between Willis of Liberty or Pickett. I'm going to leave Malik Willis.
I think if Detroit does go for a quarterback at 2, which is still shocking to me that we're talking about a quarterback that high, but I have seen a lot of mock drafts go that route. I think they will use their second pick in the first round, which is 32nd, on one of the other quarterbacks, possibly a Ridder, like you were talking about from Cincinnati. I think they would go Malik Willis, but I do think the first quarterback off the board is going to go to Carolina, and I think they like the Kenny Pickett style a bit more. Crazy stat that I saw yesterday. Kenny Pickett, if he does get drafted by Carolina, is 1 year and 1 day younger than Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold is going into his 5th year in the NFL. And Kenny Pickett will be drafted this year.
That's just nuts. I mean, to think of where Sam Darnold came out to compare to what he is.
That's crazy. So you say Willis, I say Pickett there. Next one, how many quarterbacks will be drafted in the first round?
I'm going to say 4. The only
That's
reason is because I like, and with it being a weaker class, I just like Desmond Ridder. I really do. What he has done for Cincinnati over the last couple of years we're playing. I think we're in agreement with Pickett and Willis. The other name that we throw out there is Corral. I think it could be easily those four names thrown out there.
I'm going to say 3, and I'm going to take Ridder out, though it would not surprise me if he and Corral flip. But Pickett and Willis, I do think, are locks for the first round. And I'll say Corral also gets picked. Because, again, Detroit has 2 picks in there, and I could see them taking a pick. One that's very interested and one that's very close to my heart, because I do think that one of these people are going to end up in a Jets uniform. Who's the first wide receiver selected?
I'm going to say London out of USC. Drake London.
That's who I think will end up with the Jets, because whether it's the first pick or not, but I want to see Garrett Wilson go to the Jets, and if he's the first pick or not as far as wide receivers go is very up in the air, because there's a few other teams in that top 10 that could go for a wide receiver. But I want the Wilson and Wilson connection for sure. Not only is that fun, I think Wilson is a fantastic talent. I've seen a lot of actual experts say that Drake London is a better fit for the Jets with what they need. But I've seen a lot of Garrett Wilson and would love to see him in a Jets uniform. How about the first offensive lineman taken? We ended up going the same route, but from what I'm seeing, things are changing.
I think it's, and we said it on the mock draft last week as we were talking about it's going to be between these 2 guys. It's going to be Evan Neal, who has been dominant from Alabama for the last 2 years, just huge numbers, putting up what he can do protecting the quarterback. I think it's between him and Conwu. I think it's going to be either one of them, but I'm going to go Evan Neal just because of the coaching staff, the school that he's coming out of. I think is a little bit bigger school than or the other guy, North Carolina State. So
yeah, I'm going to say Evan Neal as well, but I am seeing a lot of Kwanu going earlier than him lately. I'm also seeing Charles Cross on a few mock drafts going ahead of Evan Neal. I saw one mock draft from a respectable source having Evan Neal like pick 8, which is shocking when there for about a month we thought Evan Neal was the first pick.
Right.
And now he's kind of been sliding down the draft boards, and it's going to be really interesting. One that is going to be the most fun for us, I think, covering the first round and having our live reactions is the trades.
Right.
And just the out of the blue, all of a sudden, that little picture changes, and it takes another 5-10 minutes to even realize what the actual trade is. I love that about the NFL draft. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, the Green Bay logo comes up. What the heck are they going to do? Oh, they took a quarterback. Oh, that went great. How many trades do we see during the first round? Not from here that involve first round picks, but from the moment Roger Goodell goes out there and says Jacksonville is on the clock until he says Jacksonville is on the clock tomorrow. How many trades do we see?
And so my thought process was, after what you did, I just decided I'm going to take the under. So I took the under of where you're at. I think it only happens 3 times. I mean, there's been a lot of movement over the last few weeks of trades moving people. I think it has kind of settled down a little bit, unless somebody's got some harebrained idea that they're going to make a big splash. Maybe one of those teams that has no picks, you know, maybe it just is a shocking, okay, here, let's give up a lot. You know, could it be Houston who, you know, needs to figure out something? How do you rebuild a program that is just probably going to be the bottom again this next year?
I'm going to say 4, and that's what I put. You're almost certain to get one in the last 5 or so picks. Somebody jumping in there really late to get somebody they really want and not having to wait a day for it. And we'll talk about that here in a second. I understand your point, though, that we saw a lot. We saw a lot of first-round picks move around with the Russell Wilson trade, with Philadelphia and New Orleans moving things around. But there are so many teams that have multiple first-round picks later on in that first round. Kansas City has those back-to-back picks. Right. I could see them using those 2 to move up. There's like the Giants have openly said that they want to move down with one of their first 2 6 picks. They have the 2 of the top 6 picks. They want to move down with one of them. So I felt conservative even with 4 because of all of those moves. But maybe it's just because I like to see these moves, and maybe there's less than we see. How about the team that's going to move up into that first round? So we talked about it before the show, whether it was, there's 8 teams that do not have a first round pick. Those teams are Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, San Francisco, Denver, Las Vegas, Miami, and the LA Rams. Those are the 8 teams that do not have a first round pick. You don't have to pick one of those 8 teams. It could be a Jacksonville who is 1 pick away from the first round, moving up a little bit. I have seen mock drafts where the Jets move up as well and get a 3rd first round pick. So you can go anywhere you want with this, but just a team that will trade up to get an extra first round pick.
I think it's going to be a team that doesn't have one in the first one, and I am just going to go with Miami. I think they need to do something to strengthen. I think this is going to be a put up or shut up time for Tua, whether or not he is in there next year, whether or not they move him around or whatever. I don't think they don't have a pick until, I want to say, the 3rd round.
The 102nd pick.
Yeah, so they've got to make something move quick, and I think
so. That's my question, though: is what capital do they have to be able to move up into the first round? What did they give up?
The only thing I would think they would have to do is give up a next year pick, maybe even their 3rd and 4th round this year, and a maybe a player name later.
I mean, don't know.
Who do you throw out there?
Tua?
Do you throw Tua in there and say, here
Tua next year's first for your 32nd pick, Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, that could easily happen. I think Detroit, that might be a good spot. Detroit moved down. You know, they have, what is it, the 32nd pick? If I think, yeah. So
I just don't think they have enough capital to move up. And that's why, for me, I took Chicago. They don't have a first round pick, but they're 39th. So it's not going to take them too much to move into that late part of that first round. Again, in one of those situations where, say, an offensive lineman starts falling a little bit that they really like, or the run of wide receivers scares them a little bit, and they want to jump up there and get them. Um, I can see them moving into that spot. So then on the opposite side, what's a team right now that has a first round pick that you see trading out and not picking at all in the first round?
That's one that I haven't really even don't even have any in our notes. I just who would want to give up to drop out of there? I mean,
so here I'll go ahead and go first while you're thinking. The Cincinnati Bengals. They're 31st. Again, their teams are going to give up a bit,
right?
As things move down the board, and say that name just sticks out there, that's still out there, and they want to jump up and get them before that first round ends, and everyone can start talking about what they want to do with the second round. Cincinnati at 31, give them a couple extra picks, they'll move into that top part of that second round,
Right.
and they just won't have a pick in the first round. So I'm going to say the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, it's just hard to think about it, but maybe I don't see the Bills do anything. I think the Bills hold on to their pick. They're around the 25th. I mean, that's still a little bit high.
Mm-hmm.
You could there's a few of them. I honestly could see maybe does Tennessee?
Tennessee's another option, I think.
Does Tennessee do it? I mean, where would Tennessee go to draft right away? I mean, you look at what they need. Yeah, they need an offensive lineman. They need a receiver or two big pieces. I think I would lean that way. I think Tennessee might trade out.
That's fair.
Who I would put in there. Probably Tennessee.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what falls to them. There's some decent linebackers that you can get early on in the second round from what I am seeing. Again, who knows what we will see a week from Thursday. But I can see the Titans falling out too. I think that's a solid pick.
What do you think? You've got Derrick Henry there. You've got Ryan Tannehill. I mean, they've got some pieces. I think they need great linemen, and there's a lot of linemen in the first two rounds.
Anytime you can upgrade a line to block in front of Derrick Henry, I think you're fine with that. Having A.J. Brown and Robert Woods is a decent 1-2 punch as far as wide receivers go. Defense is always something that you can improve. I know Indianapolis has had a great offseason as they continue to improve their the AFC in general.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely insane. Before we get off of the NFL, is there a big name player that you could see moving during the first round of the draft? Does Baker get traded?
Does he get traded? I wouldn't be surprised if he got traded before. I would think he's already made it quite clear that,
his time in Cleveland is done. I mean, they will trade him. It's just whether it's in the first day of the draft or the second day or the third day.
For me, I think that gets done first because he's made it quite clear, they done me dirty. And he has flat told the media that, Cleveland. I think that one moves prior to that, but God, I'm trying to think who has got only 1 year left or still a free agent that's not big name that's signed anywhere. I think that might be the most obvious one.
Lamar Jackson's getting moved.
No. No way.
All right.
No way.
There you go. A week from Thursday, we will have our live reactions to the NFL draft. Check it out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages. It will not be on KLCC 88.9 FM. Scoreboard update. Look at finals so far. So the Nationals do end up sweeping the Diamondbacks today. They won the first game 6-1. Second game 1-0. Mets also sweep the Giants. They won the first game in 10 innings 5-4. They won the second game 3-1. Also finals, the Cardinals beat the Marlins 5-1. Red Sox beat the Blue Jays 2-1. And the Brewers beat the Pirates 5-2. Going into the bottom of the ninth inning, Yankees holding on to a 4-2 lead over the Tigers. Rays going into the ninth inning lead the Cubs 6-5. Angels all over the Astros 7-1 in the bottom of the sixth. Royals beating the Twins 4-3 in the top of the seventh, but Twins have 2 on with 2 outs in that game. Phillies over the Rockies 4-3 in the top of the sixth. Orioles are our 28th and 29th ranked team, beating the Oakland Athletics 1-0 in the bottom of the third inning. Padres over the Reds 3-1 after 3. Mariners still up 4-1 now in the top of the fourth. Braves with an early 1-0 lead over the Dodgers in the middle of the second. Switch over real quick and see if I can get you some NBA scores, I guess. Pelicans are ahead of the Suns 25-20 in the first quarter. Memphis is crushing Minnesota 92-72. That'll even that series up. And Miami goes up 2-0 as they beat Atlanta 115-105. So there's your scoreboard update. Speaking of scoreboards, how about that scoreboard in our Aussie Rules football game as my Hawthorne Hawks and your Geelong Cats played on their normal Easter Day or Easter Monday matchup over there in Australia. Great back and forth game. I watched this one completely all the way through live. Back and forth game. Hawthorne, which they do every single week, it seems like, jumped out to the early lead, let the other team come back. Third quarter, Geelong finally takes the lead, and it's like, well, that was fun. And all of a sudden, Hawthorne battled their way back and get the upset victory, 92-80.
Yeah, it was just one of those matchups that we talked prior on. It didn't look like the defense for Geelong was wanting to play anything. I mean, it was once they got in within 50 meters, they became not as physical, a little bit more light, a little bit more off there. But you and I talked, and I think, and I hate to bring it up just because we talked about it week one, is the officiating. It was, for me, what little bit I watched the quick match play. So they condensed the big moments in about 15-20 minutes and watched it that way. It just looked like quick whistles on a few of the plays, but you can't blame an official for doing that. I mean, the guy's got to come out. We left lots of points on the board, lots of points, and it's some key misses that should have never missed.
Yeah, when you have 11 goals and 14 behinds, you've left a lot of points back there. Anybody that is listening that doesn't understand Aussie Rules football, go watch it. It's an absolute blast of a sport, but a goal gives you 6 points. That means you put it between the two middle posts. If you put it on in between the two far posts, it's called a behind. It's worth 1 point. So it's a big score difference if you can complete the goal or not. Yeah. Some other scores that happened throughout the week. Brisbane held on to a 98-91 win over Collingwood. Our buddy Eric's Western Bulldogs crushed our buddy Harry's North Melbourne Roos 139-71. Sydney, who plays Hawthorn next week, and congratulations to the Swans for their win next week. They crushed the Eagles 121-58.
We said that last week too.
I'm going to keep saying it if it keeps working. Melbourne stays undefeated as they beat GWS 120-53. Port Adelaide stayed winless. Again, they were one of the favorites. I mean, luckily we didn't do predictions because they might have been in my top 4, but they are now 0-5. They lost to Carlton 94-91. Looking ahead to next week's schedule, it starts Friday, or the games that we're going to talk about. Friday at 8:45 p.m. local time, Western and Adelaide. Both teams are 2 and 3. Pretty good teams, though. Port Adelaide 0-5, trying to get their first win. They face West Coast at 11:35 local time. My prediction is they will finally get that win. Do you agree?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Saturday, your Geelong Cats will take on Harry's North Melbourne Roos, and you can joke with him on the draft Thursday.
Yep.
That's at 8:10 p.m. I think the Cats do get the win there. Melbourne, I believe, will stay undefeated when they play Sunday at 2:25 a.m. local time against Richmond. Stay up late for that one. And then also on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. local time, Sydney 4-1 against Hawthorn 3-2. And right now, Hawthorn in that top 8, long ways to go. There's like 18 more weeks left in the regular season, but they would make the playoffs right now. And that's a team that was considered to be a contender for the wooden spoon, which again, if you do not watch Aussie Rules football, the wooden spoon is given out to the team that finishes dead last. And I think more American sports need to adopt a wooden spoon style mentality and give a little joke award to the team that finishes last.
Yeah, as what we say, the booby prize. Yeah, and that's what it is. But looking at the pictures where everybody's standing, I'm very shocked. That Port Adelaide is where they're at, and the 0-5, and you look at how the rest of it looks like a log jam between 2-3 and 3-2. So I'm think yes, we're only 5 weeks in, but there can be a lot of flip flopping happening over the next couple of weeks. I looked at the schedule. There's some interesting matchups over the next couple of weeks. So again, if you have not looked at those, you can go to afl.au. Just Google search it, AFL, and go and check out some of the stuff. You can watch a lot of the matches. Go to find a team. That's what I did. Found a team, jumped on board, and kind of happy I did.
Just have some fun with it. Such a fun sport. If you're into football, you're into soccer, you're just into sports in general. That game is so crazy, and I love watching it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it was something new to take our time because USFL wasn't happening. What did you think of opening week?
Have not watched a single snap.
I watched a couple of snaps in the Birmingham game, but that's about it. Nothing too exciting. I do like, this sounds weird, but I do like having microphones on a lot of those players and also a lot of all the officials, so you can hear what the officials are talking about. Only thing bad is it does dead air a lot of players stuff, but you do hear a lot. And the cameras, they've put cameras on a couple of the running backs, and you can see it's in just above their visors, or where the screens. But watching there's that hole, go hit it, and then get crushed for a 5-yard loss.
Yeah, listen, these spring football leagues are just there to give NFL new ideas.
Exactly.
I refuse to watch a single snap of one of these spring leagues until they make it to their second season. It hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
So if you make it to your second season, I will start to get invested in your product. Let's see. Let's get to some sports that do not get enough airtime. Let's start with NASCAR. They were at Bristol this weekend. It was the dirt track version of Bristol, the mud track version.
It was muddy.
Once it was all done, as the rain caused havoc. I hate this race so much because I love Bristol. Bristol is my favorite track, and they're wasting an event by just dirt nonsense. Go do a dirt track anywhere else. I don't care. Just don't take Bristol away from me. This one, I will say, did get some havoc caused because of the rain, but still, there was really only that one line that you could really run. You could dive bomb some people and try to get underneath them, but if you tried to run that really low line, you just never got the traction you needed. So it's just a lot of running in line with each other. Does have a wild finish as Chase Briscoe gets underneath Tyler Reddick on the final corner, and he just sends it. It's a great video to watch. He even says in the interview afterwards, when he's talking to Tyler Reddick, he's like, I was spinning either way. I was trying not to hit you, but I was just giving it everything I had. His back end slips out and does touch Tyler Reddick, who was looking for his first career win. They both spin out. Kyle Busch, who is in third, comes around to win the race, and I love that he still gets booed. And he even went, I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. He just happened to be in the right place, right time. But for me, more hats off to Chase Briscoe coming over and saying, "Hey, listen," and it was right after that Fox was done interviewing Reddick, and he comes over, and everybody stays there and listen to him, and Tyler's like, yeah, it's racing. I understand. It's okay.
I actually saw an interview with Chase Briscoe as he was making that walk from a different group. And he basically went, I feel really bad. I didn't mean for that to happen. I was just giving it everything I could. If he punches me, I deserve it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just going to go take it. And Tyler Reddick was just as nice and said, listen, I shouldn't have let him get as close as he did. And that's just racing for you. The ending was far better than the race was to me. And I think that's going to be how it will be next week too with Talladega. It's avoid the big one and then come down to the last lap or two.
Avoid the mud. As a few of them got caught in the mud.
The funny. Mud was pretty funny.
Well, here's your thought. And I thought about this as I was watching it because I told you I watched the Fox puts out a nice little montage of all the stages, stage winners, all that. And I was thinking why one of the guys got stuck, and I thought, how funny would it be? Let's put studs on these guys' tires.
I just rip up the mud?
Yeah, put some studs on them. I mean,
they can't see as it is.
Yeah,
we don't need mud flying everywhere.
Put studs on them. Let more dirt flying. If you want to put dirt on Bristol, let's do it.
You're an absolute monster.
That's what makes things fun. We were actually talking Easter Day, and we were talking, Mom and Dad and I and Denise and my sister. We were all talking about the idea of we've got some local folks here that do drag strips and drag racing and going down to Walla Walla and all that. We talked about going up to Post Falls and catching a race too. That'd be cool. Can you imagine throwing studs on one of those cars and round and round, fly some dirt, man?
You're making a bad situation.
I want to be just as dirty from dirt flying as those guys are getting out of their car.
No, I don't want that in my NASCAR. I just don't. I don't. It's horrible. It's a horrible idea. I don't like it.
I tried.
Other sports that don't get enough airtime. We've talked a lot about bowling, obviously with my trip, but the playoffs are still going on. I still think these are recorded early because, again, I saw Tommy Jones bowl on Saturday.
I think they record all of it and then they show.
I have yet to see any results though, so they do a great job of hiding it.
Right.
But I saw Tommy Jones bowl his team event on. No, he was Friday that he bowled, but I would have assumed he bowled his singles and doubles on Saturday. But he bowled on Sunday against Kyle Sherman. Tommy Jones does get the win there, 2-0. Jesper Svensson gets the upset against number 3 seed EJ Tackett, 2-1.
So bad for Tackett, man.
He has just not been right this year.
No.
AJ Johnson sweeps Jacob Buttriff 2-0, and Sean Maldonado, who has a back injury, looked uncomfortable the whole time. Upsets the number 2 seed Anthony Simonson 2-0.
Stuck in the third frame of the first game. Can't bend over. He dropped his chamois and it fell in between balls. He thought it fell on the floor, but he sat up on top of the chair the entire time. You could see how much he had changed. But for him to knock off the number 2 guy, so the highest bracket person is Dom Barrett.
Yep,
at 4.
Yeah, and it's 4 versus 5.
Yeah,
how great is that?
That's just nuts.
That's how it works. Your quarterfinal matchups, and we'll go through our predictions as well. The 16 seed Bill O'Neill will take on the 9 seed Kyle Troop. We're both taking Kyle Troop.
Yep.
The 5th seed Chris Prather versus the 4th seed Dom Barrett. There's not a lot of he's the only house guy left, so I got to go with Chris Prather.
Same here. Not taking anything away from Dom. Dom's had an unbelievable season. I like Chris Prather's game and where it's come from. So.
For sure. The 10th seed, AJ Johnson, will take on the 15th seed, Sean Maldonado. That back's not going to hold up. I'm taking AJ Johnson. I almost said AJ Davis.
And he has a lot to prove with everything that he has dealt with over the last couple of years. AJ Johnson, if you don't know his story, go and read his story. It is unbelievable. But yeah, Sean's just hurting way too much. And they're relying on him and his chiropractor. So give me AJ there.
And then the last matchup, the 14 seed Jesper Svensson versus the 6 seed Tommy Jones. Hey, I saw Tommy Jones bowl. I'm just in awe of the way he bowls. So give me Tommy Jones.
Yeah, I like Tommy Jones, but I am going with the young guy. Give me the young lefty. Let Jesper move on. So the 14 is going to be the upset over the 6.
Perfect. So our one difference there. What was it? The RBC Heritage Tournament for golf. I watched some of this back and forth. It was really cool to see Joel Damon and Jordan Spieth be the featured group on ESPN Plus. So I just watched them. Like the leaderboard moved up and down. I have no idea how anyone else golfed. I just watched Joel and Jordan play. Jordan was unconscious. He made some like a bunker save that went in. That just it was a no doubter, and was making some crazy shots. Joel, I think, in the front nine, he had the one bogey, but it was just him trying to stay out of trouble that entire time. He could not get close enough to really take advantage of a course that a lot of people were scoring low on. Started getting some birdies there in the back nine, but that double bogey really hurt on 18, especially when a lot of people were shooting low.
Yeah, especially. I mean, he was in contention the whole time. So, hats off to him getting his fourth top 25. He was ninth after Sunday, but I told one of my assistant principals, we were talking about him because he likes to come in and sneak in my room when I'm finishing lunch, because on Thursdays and Fridays when there's golf on, I turn on my Dish Anywhere, and so I sit there during lunch and I watch PGA golf, and so I'm sitting there watching it, and they were talking about how Jordan was 180th. I couldn't believe this, 180th in putting in the pros this year, and it was just like crazy. Him and I were back and forth about how bad he was doing it, and then what's he do over the weekend on Saturday, Sunday? He just turns it around. So hats off to Jordan with where he is finishing that, winning that in the playoff against who I picked in the Masters. He was a week behind.
Way to go,
Patrick Cantlay. You're fired.
And we just blew it.
Yeah,
but exactly. No, congratulations to Joel, fourth top 25 finish of the year, nearly a top 10. The double bogey took him out of that top 10 finish, but he was playing really, really well as well. Again, it was really just cool to watch all 18 holes and him and Gino talking through some different deals. We'll get Gino back on the show here soon. He's back on the crazy schedule for the PGA for sure. Their next tournament is the Zurich Classic of New Orleans.
One of my favorite courses. I love that course. That's a nice course down there in New Orleans.
We need to, I know you've already said you got your date booked, but we need to figure out when the PGA is in Vegas and then do our nationals that weekend.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then at least go watch a little bit of PGA golf and yell at Joel and Gino as they walk by.
Yeah, that'd be quite interesting. I have to look at the schedule because they do put them out at a decent time. So I'll have to look at that.
All right.
Hey, listen, I even talked about making a road trip doing that. I told Denise I was looking at the WWE schedule, and you and I talked about it. Our first week of bowling league is when they're in Seattle and Portland for SmackDown and for Raw. So, I mean, both of them in the Northwest. I'd love to take a trip over there, but I don't think us relying on Claffey and Pam and all those guys that first week, it's kind of rough. So
not the first week. All right, sir, give us this week in sports history.
This week in sports history, a few different things going on. 1858, the first U.S. Billiards Championship was held in Detroit, Michigan, and Michael J. Fillon wins that one. 1897, John McDermott wins the first New York Marathon. Just wanted to, the Boston Marathon. He was from New York. Just wanted to chime in one more time. That's awesome. Cage Sabota racing there in Boston, and those guys, a couple other ones. 1992, the second lowest NBA scoring game, the Detroit Pistons and New York Knicks, 72-61. 1996, the Texas Rangers scored 16 runs in the eighth inning versus the Baltimore Orioles.
Denny's going.
I took.
He's watching his Orioles win right now.
I took a little poke at that one. I wanted to do that one. So, but yeah, they ended up scoring 16 runs in that against the Orioles, and Texas wins 26-7. In 1997, the 48th time opposing pitchers hit home runs. Carlos Perez against Darren Holmes.
Crazy. All right. Crush me in this trivia.
You get an option. I'm giving you an option.
Okay.
We even have time. I might even give you both.
Sweet.
Do you want to do MLB or do you want to do basketball? NBA or MLB?
We gotta go MLB.
All right, MLB. Here we go. The record runs, we just talked about it a second ago, scored by a team in an inning is not 16. That is second in the modern day era. How many runs overall, not in the modern day era, is the most runs scored in an inning?
So 16 is not the record for modern.
Right.
It's second.
It is second in the modern day.
And then that record is crushed by something that happened in 1870 something. Is that what you're trying to say?
Not 1870. You're close.
But I mean,
it happened in 1883.
What I'm saying is, whatever the record is in the modern era is beaten by that.
Right.
I'll say.
I have both of them written down.
I'll say 23.
No, it wasn't much higher. It was only 18.
That's
the Chicago White Stockings, who are also known as the Chicago Cubs now, ended up scoring 18 runs and won that one 26-6 over the Detroit Wolverines.
We need the Detroit Wolverines to go, and everyone's getting all upset that we have the Cleveland Guardians and stuff. I want the Chicago White Stockings to come back. That's a great name.
There you go. The modern day era is just one run better at 17, but that was in the Boston Red Sox against the Detroit Tigers, where they scored 17 in 1953.
Okay, give me the basketball.
All right. We said the lowest scoring game was the Detroit Pistons against the Knicks.
You're going to ask me the highest?
The 72-61. What is the highest score? God. I will tell you the date, and then maybe that'll help you out. December 13th, 1983.
Wow. I really would have thought it was in the last 10 years.
No.
With some of the crazy scores that have been going on.
It was not.
So do you want the teams? Do you want the total score?
The teams, that would be. I'm okay with that.
What year?
1983. I'll give you the score. 186-184 in 3 overtimes.
No clue. Wow. Minnesota and Seattle.
No.
I have no clue.
It was the Detroit Pistons knocking off the Denver Nuggets 186-184. Isaiah Thomas was the high scorer for the Pistons with 47 points, 17 assists, and 5 rebounds. And for Denver, Kiki Vanderweg, 51 points, 8 3-pointers, and 9 rebounds. Doesn't even get a double-double.
Crazy.
And neither did Isaiah. Oh, yeah, he did. He was short of the triple-double.
Right. It's crazy. Yeah, that's a lot of points scored.
186-184, 3 overtimes.
Right before we go, last minute score updates. Yankees did end up winning their game 4-2. Mariners still holding on to the 4-2 lead right now in the top of the 5th. And Denny, who is off watching his Orioles, is enjoying that 1-0 lead that is still out there. I was looking real quick as far as Vegas dates go. The match is June 1st this year, which is all football players.
Right.
But it looks like their Vegas trip is in October.
Right.
So that's disappointing.
One last promo for the guys. We got to shout out Clearwater Combat this Saturday on the 23rd of April. Come out to the Clearwater River Casino. Come watch the team execution, as they are known. Jared Fisher, Brian McElroy, Dimitri Morales, the whole crew from Arnett's dojo there. Come watch those guys. Get your tickets out at the casino. There's a few tickets left on Tickets West, but doors open at 6. Fights start at 7. Come out and support these local fighters.
Absolutely. And we will talk about that on Tuesday. You'll be out there, and I want to know all about it. Don't forget, Under the Elms will be right here at Lcsc. KLCZ will have a booth on Friday from noon to 7. I just wrote my time down for 3 to 4. So I'll be hanging out down here as well. So definitely come check that out. And don't forget, a week from Thursday, we'll have a special R&R Sports Report with the it's the B&W Sports Report. Is it Broadhurst and Watkins? Yeah, BWSR, I think is what they call themselves, because they couldn't come up with anything more original. But Eric and Harry will join us for a full first round live reaction of the NFL draft. So lots coming your way. Last thing that we really can do before baseball goes crazy.
Yeah, if you're listening to it, watch us, drop us a message. We'll even pull you up maybe and have a good time, see where your team's doing. So
yeah, absolutely. We did that last year.
Yeah.
If you have a camera and a microphone and you want your team's getting ready to come up and you want to have a discussion and you want your live reaction with us, no problem.
Yeah.
Just remember, it's a college radio station. So keep the 4-letter words as best as you can to a minimum. We won't be live on the air here at the college. So it's a little bit more leeway, but we always try to keep that standard as best we can. I understand. and I'll probably mute myself at least once with the Jets. I'll just tell you that right now, because there's no way that they're going to pick the way I want both times.
Just once.
There's no way they're going to piss me off both times.
There's our prop bet. Is it over under? Just
there's no way they upset me both picks. There's no way. I hope not.
It'll be interesting.
But we will be back next week, regular time, 6 to 8, right here at the KLCZ station. We need a cool name for this place, but we don't got one now. But for now, that's Robert. I'm Randy, and we are out.